Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, Villains Win, DkBk, Sapphire 03091111. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. Backstory: Izuku Midoriya lived a very happy life. That was until he bounced with his mother to the doctor's office. That was when his dream of becoming a hero shattered. He was declared quirkless. People looked down at him, everyone expected failure. But young Izuku was more than what met the eye. The young boy was a genius rivaling even Nizu's intelligence. That, along with the fact that his father was the #1 villain all for one AFO, and his mother, the Masquerade, an important figure in those that opposed the Hero Council. Izuku, being the determined young man he was, would become a hero and prove everyone wrong. He didn't care if he had to become a villain first, but he would change the world. Katsuki Bakugo, Izuku's best friend, always felt like Izuku was more than just a friend to him. When Izuku was declared quirkless, he stayed to try and protect him. In middle school, however, when the bullying worsened, he knew that being Izuku's friend wouldn't help much. He made the decision to drive away all of Izuku's tormentors by becoming one himself. He would make sure no one else could touch his best friend. He, however, didn't realize that the others would torment Izuku behind his back anyways. Lucky for him, Izuku knew what Kat-chan was doing. He knew that Kat-chan meant good and forgave him. They soon became friends again and then started dating in their last year of middle school. This was when he revealed to Kat-chan about his parents and older brother. Last year of middle school, Katsuki and Izuku had just started dating. Izuku's POV: Kat-chan and I had started dating only a few weeks ago. Honestly, can't say I'm surprised. He was always sweet to me, protecting me from bullies. More like protecting the bullies from me, cause I could easily injure them all with the training Dad gave me. I'm meeting up with him soon. I think it is finally time to tell him the truth about my family. I leaned against the wall of an alleyway we agreed to meet up at. I could make out his figure walking towards me. I straightened as I saw him. I smiled and walked up to him. "Hey Kat-chan," I kissed him softly, and he hugged me. "You said you wanted to tell me something important," he asked while his nose scrunched up with worry. "DMN, that looked cute." "You look cute when you get all worried," I chuckled. He huffed and looked away embarrassed. "What the F did you say?" I just laughed and put my arm around his shoulders and led him down a path, deeper into the alley we were just in. "Where are we going?" He still sounded worried. "Kurogyri," I called out, ignoring my dandelion. "Oi, answer me you nerd," he huffed. A familiar purple portal opened in front of us. "Deku, what is this?" Now he sounded scared. I looked at him, holding both his shoulder with a firm grasp. He always used to be taller than me, but due to a recent growth spurt, I was taller than him, though just barely. He wasn't happy when he found that out. "Katsuki, do you trust me?" I looked at him, trying to see if I could read his emotions. Katsuki's POV: I was meeting up with my Deku. He said he wanted to tell me something important. I couldn't help but get worried. What was that nerd going to tell me that was so important? We were meeting up in an alleyway too. Definitely not suspicious at all. I arrived at the place where we had agreed to meet up. He had arrived earlier than me. When he saw me, I saw the nerd's eyes light up. He walked up to me. "Hey Kat-chan," I heard him say before he kissed me. I both hated and loved how he made me like physical affection. Before I could react, my arm wrapped around him. We pulled apart, and I tried to focus at why we were there. "You wanted to tell me something important." I was still worried. He softly chuckled. "You look cute when you get all worried." I looked away embarrassed. "What the F did you say? Why does he have to be so cheesy, and why do I like it so much?" He laughed at my embarrassment. He wrapped his hand around my shoulder and started leading me deeper into the alley. Now I was even more worried. "Where are we going?" I needed some explanation on what was going on. "Kurogyri." Who or what was Kurogyri, and did that nerd just ignore me? "Oi, answer me you nerd." I was a mix of emotions at this point. Just then a purple swirl appeared in front of us. He turned around to face me, both his hands holding my shoulders firmly. "Katsuki, do you trust me?" I slightly shivered at the absence of the childish nickname. He was being very serious. This doesn't calm my nerves at all, Izuku. Of course I trust you. Now what is going on? I didn't have to think about it. I trusted and loved that nerd more than I would ever admit. He just smiled at me, grabbed my hand and led me through the purple swirl. At the villain's base, Shigaraki's POV, that brat was going to bring home his boyfriend for the first time. He was also going to tell him about all of us being villains. I hope for the brat's sake his boyfriend will listen, otherwise there will be problems. Mom, Dad, and I were sitting in the meeting room, which looked more like a throne room NGL. Dad made us sit here. He said that it was because this room was largest and more roomy, but I knew that it was for intimidation purposes. Dad had always been extremely protective of us, but he was especially protective of Izuku, with him being quirkless and all. If this boyfriend of his messes up, he might not live to see another day. "They're coming now," Kurogiri spoke up. We all stared down at Portal. Izu's distinct green hair appeared, followed by the rest of his body. Following him, a boy with dirty blonde hair and red eyes came through. He looked scared, but who wouldn't when they appeared face to face with the country's most wanted villains? Izuku stood there for a second, blinked and then face-palmed. I almost burst out laughing at his embarrassment. "Oh my God. No, you did not. Why? Why? Why couldn't you have just met my boyfriend like normal parents?" Izu covered his face with his free hand while his boyfriend looked scared and confused at the same time. PFTT, I couldn't help laugh now. "Not you too, Ni-chan, you should have said your boyfriend was Katsuki." Mom stood up and walked down towards them. "Ha! Izu, what's going on? Where are we and why is Auntie here?" He looked at me and Dad but didn't say anything. Looks like Dad's plan on intimidating him was working. Izuku calmed down and turning toward us said, "Mom, Dad, Tenko, this is my boyfriend, Katsuki Bakugo." He then turned towards the even more confused Katsuki. "Kat-chan, I know I told you that my only family was my mom. Sorry, but that was a lie. I have a father and an older brother." I was going to explain everything here, but since Dad and Tenko decided to intimidate you, I don't think that is a very good idea. "Hey! Zuzu, we still want to meet your boyfriend." I stood up and walked down along with Dad. "I don't think this is a good idea," Zuku sighed. "Must say that Sai doesn't suit him at all. How about you explain everything to him later on, and we just meet him for now?" Dad spoke up. "Fine." Izuku pulled the blondie closer to him. "Come on Izu, I like to tease my bratty little brother." "We aren't gonna kill him," I snickered. "Shut up or I'm going to rip your limbs off one by one." Tomura, Izuku could definitely be scary if he wanted to. "I'm kidding Izu. Chill. You know we won't touch your boyfriend." I glared at him, "That is of course if he doesn't hurt you first." I could see him shudder, but he squared up and stared back at me. "I would never hurt Izuku. You don't have to worry." He spat in my direction. I smiled, genuinely this time. I approve." I turned to Izuku and flicked his forehead. He smiled. "Don't need your approval Tenko." Katsuki's POV, "What the F?" He lead me through the portal. We appeared in what looked like a throne room. There were thrones but only 3 were filled. I was still holding onto the nerd's hand. I looked at him. He stood there for a second, not reacting, and then slammed his face on his face. "Oh my God. No, you did not. Why? Why? Why couldn't you have just met my boyfriend like normal parents?" Did the nerd want to introduce me to his parents? Didn't he say that he only had Auntie? Who were the other 2? Why were we in a throne room? I didn't know why I was so scared. I knew exactly why I was confused though. Who were these people and where were we? "You should have said your boyfriend was Katsuki." Auntie Inko stood up and walked down towards us with a soft smile. Ha! Izu, what's going on? Where are we and why is Auntie here? I kept glancing at the two men in the room. I decided against mentioning them. Izu's supposed brother had light blue hair and a large scar on his eye. Izu's supposed father wore a suit and tie and had pearly white hair and red eyes. Izuku turned towards his family and said, "Mom, Dad, Tenko, this is my boyfriend, Katsuki Bakugo." He then turned towards me, "Kat-chan, I know I told you that my only family was my mom. Sorry, but that was a lie. I have a father and an older brother." I was going to explain everything here, but since Dad and Tenko decided to intimidate you, I don't think that is a very good idea. Hey! Zuzu, we still want to meet your boyfriend. Tenko stood up and walked down along with their dad. I don't think this is a good idea, Izu sighed. How about you explain everything to him later on, and we just meet him for now? The tall man said. Fine. Izuku pulled me closer to him. I didn't pull away as I normally would have. Come on Izu, Tenko was teasing Izu. Yup, they are definitely siblings. We aren't gonna kill him, he snickered. I could feel that he was being serious. Shut up or I'm going to rip your limbs off one by one. Tomura, I had never seen the nerd be this scary. I'm kidding Izu. Chill. You know we won't touch your boyfriend. He glared at me, that is of course if he doesn't hurt you first. I shuddered, but I wasn't going to seem weak in front of my nerd's family. I would never hurt Izuku. You don't have to worry, I spat at him. He smiled, it didn't look fake. I approve. He turned to Izuku and flicked his forehead. He smiled, don't need your approval Tenko. Just then the nerd's father spoke up, Izuku will explain everything. Just know, if you leave him, you will also be leaving the earth. He smiled like a psychopath. I would never leave him. No matter what. I was scared, but definitely not hesitant. He turned to my nerd and nodded at him. Kurogiri, take us back please. I turned to see a tall man I hadn't before. He had purple swirls around him, similar to the portal. This must be Kurogiri. Another portal opened up behind the two of us and Izu pulled me through it once again. Izuku's POV, my family could be a little. Who am I kidding? My family is very overwhelming. At least I know Ni-chan and Dad approve. I pulled a very scared and confused Kat-chan through the portal. DMN, he looked cute. We appeared in the same alley we were in before. I pulled him into a kiss to bring his attention back towards me. He snapped back right away and pushed away. What the F was that nerd? I smiled at him expecting his reaction to be like that. Calm down, love. He immediately turned red and looked away embarrassed. I'll be blunt. I'm a villain. I looked at him. Would he leave me? Would he tell someone? Katsuki's POV, I'll be blunt. I'm a villain. I stared at him. Stunned. This was the same Deku who always wanted to be a hero. The same Deku that would ramble on and on about heroes and how cool they were. The same Deku that spent thousands of yen for rare action figurines. Or was it the same Deku? I looked at him, his worried face. Of course it was the same Izuku. I pulled him into a kiss. I was still confused beyond words, but this was my nerd. He was stupid and annoying, but I would hear him out. Explain Beach, he just softly chuckled. Calming down instantly. Time skip to after the explanation brought to you by Blue Pancakes. I stared in shock. Everything I knew about heroes, the Hero Council, and even society was wrong. Anger bubbled up inside of me. Small explosions pooped in the palm of my hand. Let me join you. Izuku's POV, let me join you. I started at Kat-chan. Absolutely not. If things go wrong, I'll be in jail for life. I cannot make you go through that. A bit of arguing and explosions later. We had arrived at a conclusion. If I ever needed help, he would help and I couldn't argue, but he would never be part of the villain group. At the end of the day, we were both too exhausted and decided to go home. See you tomorrow, Cat-chan, I waved and we both headed our own ways. Lost in my own thoughts, I walked home in silence. Or what I thought was silence. I guess I was mumbling the entire way back. Just then I felt a presence near me and I was snapped back to reality. A large sludge monster was making its way towards me. I need someone strong to control, but you'll do, it said, sliming its way closer to me. Is sliming a word? Who cares, tbh, you get the idea. I peeled out my knife and slit at his neck. That didn't seem to work. It just laughed at me. Ugh, rude. I pulled out my taser. It wasn't an ordinary taser though. I had made this one myself. The volts on this one could easily kill someone. I had changed the setting enough to knock someone out for now. I grabbed it and stabbed it into the same place I had tried to slice it before. It hadn't caused any damage, but I could see that it had left a weak spot. The creature twitched and then slumped onto the ground as I sighed in relief. I had neither my gun nor my scythe on me, and this was the best I could do without drawing too much attention towards myself. I am here, an annoying voice rings out. Ugh. It's All Might, the #1 hero. The source and cover for all the quirk discrimination going on all around. The Hero Council used him as their reasoning. After the rise of All Might, quirk discrimination increased a lot more than it used to. People believed, if they wanted to be heroes, they needed flashy quirks like All Might. However, All Might wasn't what everyone had thought. He was once quirkless too. Once he received his quirk one for all, BOFA, he changed, adopted all the quirkest beliefs of the people around him. He said that anyone can be a hero, but he always overlooked the weak. Good job, young man. I will be taking that villain now. He got ready to jump away, you know, that weird powerful jump that launches him into the air making it look like he's flying. Wait, I had the perfect plan to ruin him after all was said and done, and Dad had one. I pulled out my phone to record him. Or at least his voice. CC, can a quirkless person like me be I faked my stutter and inhaled deeply before continuing. Hero, I was smiling internally. I knew his answer. He laughed. How stupid of him. I almost started laughing then and there. Of course not, young man. Do you want to die? You will be a liability on the battlefield. It is good to dream, but keep it realistic. You should try to be a police or a doctor instead. I got him. But I took that thing down and myself. I pointed at the unconscious sludge villain. Must be luck. Once in ever chance. Give up, kid, no. I snickered at him internally. Watching his eyes widen in shock. I will be a hero no matter what anyone says. My fake stutter gave me a headache. I turned the recording off and ran off. I made sure that I was far enough away before bursting into laughter. This was hilarious. I replayed the recording. Everything was clear. I smiled widely. This could easily ruin All Might's career. I decided to save it for later. I walked into my apartment and collapsed onto my bed. I wished I had asked Kurogiri to teleport me home. Mom wouldn't be home for another hour or so, and I still had homework from school left. I sighed and got up, walking to my desk. I opened my school bag and took out some of my books. They were tattered by how many people had destroyed them to try and get to me. I tried repairing it, but most were too far gone. Not like the teacher would care if it was tattered or not. She failed me no matter what happened. Yet I still finished his homework every day and studied for tests. This does get exhausting sometimes, doesn't it? I chuckled. I went downstairs. Mom had left dinner for me before leaving again. After a quick dinner, I headed back upstairs. I opened my laptop and opened a chess game. My only source of entertainment, peace, and STMLTN for my brain. My favorite opponent and online best friend, with the username Satan, was online as always. I invited him for a game and we started to chat while playing a standard game. I knew that Satan was Nizu's username, but he didn't know that he was playing and occasionally losing against a 14-year-old. I had hacked into his computer and found theories on who I could be. He had no leads, the few possibilities he had written down were 50+ man who is bored with life, quirk discrimination, 20+ genius who faces quirk discrimination, 30 to 40-year-old with a boring job. Quirk discrimination, well, technically the first two were correct except for the age part. I think it would be fun to reveal to him that I am quirkless. We had already had several discussions on quirks and quirk discrimination. He only stuck with the Hero Commission because it was either them or the organization that experimented on him for years. Either he could change a few things through manipulation and blackmail in the Hero Commission or rot away in a lab. Obviously he chose the prior. I started a chat with him. Satan, hello my favorite opponent. How was your day today? Revolution, hi Satan, my day was absolutely trash. Quirk discrimination again as always. How about you? Satan, if you don't mind telling me, what is your quirk? I knew he would get curious soon, especially since he couldn't hack into my info to get anything. Revolution, I don't mind, I am quirkless. There was silence for a minute while I stared in anticipation for his reply. I knew what his reply was going to be, of course. I just wanted to slowly reveal information to get him to help our purpose. Satan, I thought you would have an intelligence quirk for sure. Would you like to meet up with me? I could help. I snickered. Time to strike. Imma just write R and S cause I'm too lazy. R, thank you for the offer Nizu, but believe it or not, I have more resources than you. I smiled. My work for today was done. I had successfully baited the rat Satan of UA. R, I shall leave you to process what you have heard, and BTW, the three of your theories about me are all wrong. Good night principal of UA. I snickered at my own genius. I was too tired. I went to bed earlier than what I normally would. Nizu's POV, I must say, my favorite human, just made me even more interested in him than before. I couldn't believe that he had successfully hacked into my PC and identified me. His smart exceeded mine, and I rely on a quirk. This person could be dangerous, but I couldn't help but feel that he was playing with me, trying to spark my interest. The next day and another chess game later, still Nizu's POV, R, hi Nizu. If you want I can reveal a little more about my identity. He was definitely playing with me, yes, I have to admit. Despite the absolute low population of the quirkless, finding you is impossible. So, even though I hate to admit it, I would love another hint. R, I am 14. I stared at the new message that had popped on my screen. Not only was the person that was smarter than me without a quirk, they were a child. I didn't know what to do with that information. Revolution had already logged off. All I could do was wait to get more hints of any sort. Time skipped to a little before the UA entrance ceremony brought to you by Ichiraku Ramen. I had finished another game with the mysterious Revolution. R, hey Nizu, shouldn't you be worrying about the entrance exams? Aren't they the day after tomorrow? S, yes, I certainly should, however my interest in you is greater than my interest in the entrance exam. R, then I shall torture you no longer. Look through the applications for UA this year. The only quirkless entry is me. With that he logged off as he normally did. I immediately ran to check all the entries for this year. Not once in our conversations had he mentioned either becoming a hero or making support items. Our Gen Ed was at this point for only those who failed the hero entrance exams. I stopped flipping through the papers and smiled. I burst out laughing. I think somewhere behind my cemento spit out his coffee and ran away. Izuku Midoriya. The kid had barely passed any of his classes. His history was abysmal. I chalked it up to quirk discrimination, having known Revolution or Izuku personally. I had finally found my mystery best friend. Even though technically he had revealed himself to me. I needed his brains in my school. Somehow I knew that he didn't want to draw attention, so I, unfortunately, couldn't take him as a personal student. Izuku's POV, I just knew Nizu was scaring the teacher laughing over my file. Now I have confirmed that I will get into UA no problem. It was a day before the entrance exams. I knew I would get in, but I still woke up in the morning and worked out to make sure my body was in shape. I logged online and opened my chat with Nizu R. Hey Nizu. I have more interesting information for you. This will interest you a lot more. I then sent him a few pics of my hero analysis on underground heroes. This should pass for my written exam. Could you please call for me tomorrow during it so that I can tell you then? You have sparked my interest again, young Izuku. I shall meet you in person for the first time tomorrow then. Time skipped to just before the exam, brought to you by I'll take a potato chip and eat it. I was sitting on my couch waiting for my boyfriend to arrive so we could both walk to UA together. I see a text from him and hurry down the stairs to meet him. I saw his light up when he saw me. I hugged him tightly. I had already explained to him that in UA, we had to pretend to hate each other so that if our new classmates asked our old classmates anything, no one would be suspicious. This also meant no physical affection in front of our classmates. We chatted as we walked to UA. I took in a deep breath and looked over the large gates. I was finally going to be a student in my dream school. I may be a villain right now, but when all settles down and the government is no longer corrupt, I am going to be the best underground hero. Just like Eraserhead or Aizawa. Speaking of Aizawa, he was standing in front of the gates making sure the people entering were who they claimed to be. Next to him I could see his husband Hisashi, better known as Present Mike. When I walked up to them a little after Katchan, I said my name with the same revised stutter, hello Eraserhead, I am a big F fan. I said smiling shyly, my name is Izuku Midoriya. I watched his eyes widen at the fact I knew him. Hello Midoriya. The principal requested your presence. He looked emotionless again. Present Mike was the one to speak up this time. Hello little listener, follow me. I followed the banana hero. Present Mike, I really like your podcast. I wasn't lying, his podcast was very intriguing, and when he talked about his secret husband, was especially more entertaining. I memorized the path to the principal's office. I had a feeling I would come here pretty often. Present Mike knocked lightly on the door that was labeled, Principal, come in. I could hear Nizu's voice shaking with anticipation. Hisashi opened the door and walked in after me. I brought young Midoriya to you as requested. Good, now you can leave us alone. Nizu was impatient. Of course he was. I am a mystery that he wanted to crack, but sadly couldn't. Present Mike looked at me curiously before leaving, closing the door behind him. Hello Nizu, I smiled, dropping my fake persona. How have you been? With brains like yours, I'm sure you already know. Now, about the information you had for me. Of course, Nizu. Thought it is more of a proposal than information. I smiled, took a seat and explained to him everything. Leaving out the part about being related to AFO and Tomura of course. He doesn't need to know that. His eyes widened the more I talked. He was hooked to each and every word I said. I assume you want me to join? He said, sipping at the teacup he had materialized in front of him. You assumed wrong. The Hero Commission keep their eyes on you at all times. That wouldn't exactly be helpful. Nizu was thinking. I could read him pretty well. He understood what I had said and was curious about what I wanted, and I obliged. I want you to give me any information that might be helpful to our goals. I paused for dramatics, cause who doesn't like dramatics, and in return, I will give you freedom. I looked at his shocked face and smirked. My plan was working. Any and every caged bird flees the second the cage door is opened, no matter where the cage might be. I know that you are constantly in danger. The Hero Commission is wary of you and don't mind telling the Lotus about you if they have to. The organization that experimented on Nizu, and the Lotus are still looking for their best lab rat. Help us out, and you will no longer be in any danger. I got up to leave as I normally did after revealing important information. This was partly so that Nizu could process the information and partly because it was dramatic, and I love dramatic. I reached out to the handle of the door, but before I could open it, I accept." Nizu looked at me with a gleam in his eyes. I got my greatest ally. This would make things so much easier. The Hero Commission and the Lotus would be eradicated after all our plans anyways. He would have been let free even if he hadn't decided to help. "We'll be in touch then, Nizu." I smirked and promptly left. I could hear his maniacal laugh echoing in his office. I'm glad that he is satisfied. The practical portion of the exam was to start soon. I entered an auditorium along with the other Hero Course students. I found my seat and sat next to Bakugo. Katsuki's POV, we were all sitting in our seats in the auditorium. The shitty nerd was nowhere to be found. I was getting kind of worried. I hadn't seen him since the front gate. I saw him come closer and sat down in the seat next to me. He smiled his adorable smile at me. "Where the F were you?" I asked him in a barely audible voice. "Were you worried about me, babe?" He smirked. Gosh, why is he always embarrassing me like this? He sat down and discreetly wrapped his arm around my waist in our seats. His long arm easily reached over. No one could see that his hand was around my waist. I could feel my face burn up. I wasn't yet used to so much physical attention from my nerd. Didn't mean I didn't like it. I loved it, would never admit that though. Izuku POV, my arm rested comfortably around Kat's waist. I could see his face flush in embarrassment. I knew he liked this attention, I also knew he would never admit to such. I looked around at all the other participants. All the seats were filled. A yellow banana man walked into the auditorium. "Welcome to the UA entrance exam," he screamed. I had already hacked into Nizu's computer, so I knew what was going to come. The same old robots made by quirkest assholes in the Hero Commission. Let's be honest, I only wrote he knew what was coming in the exam cause I couldn't be bothered to write the entire explanation. With a fairly short debriefing about the practical exam, we made our ways to separate fake cities. Sadly, me and Kat weren't in the same fake city. I gathered at the large closed doors. Present Mike was standing to the side. The doors opened and I ran in as fast as I could, which was pretty fast for someone without a quirk if I say so myself. "There's no countdowns in real battles," Hisashi shouted at the other that were still standing confused. When they finally understood, they rushed in after me. I came across a 3-pointer. They had not allowed any support item other than my small pocket knife. I dodged one of its attacks and then reached out towards one of its legs. Using my knife as a screwdriver, I removed the panel and cut all the wires. It immediately shut off. I then grabbed its arm and removed the blasty thing it was using to attack me. I quickly rewired it and made it manual. I then used it to shoot down other robot and zoning out. I had already secured my place in the hero course. I just needed to ace this test so that no one can question my belonging. I heard screams of shock and horror that snapped me back to reality. I looked around to find a giant robot heading towards me. The 0-pointer. Everyone was running away from it, causing chaos. I was the only one who saw a girl, brown hair and pink cheeks trapped under the debris caused by the robot. I had sufficient points to get into the course without the rescue points. But this was an opportunity for me to show my new personality to these losers, so why not? I ran towards the monster. At this point, I had already located the robot's weak spots since all of them had the same ones. Must say, they could definitely do better at making these robots. After several blows by my crafty cannon, it stopped. I ran over to the girl and started to get the debris off of her. The time had almost ended. Hey, are you okay? Ugh, stuttering my way through every conversation is going to be so frustrating. When I had finally managed to get her out. The time had ended and an old, short woman with a cane made her way towards us. "Thank you so much. I'm really sorry you couldn't use the last few minutes because of me." The girl looked truly apologetical. Oh. It's cute, quite all alright. Saving people is what H heroes do. I looked at her with my innocent face. I had gotten quite used to making that innocent face. Being quirkless, a genius and adorable really had its advantages. Recovery girl. RG, took Kirby away to get checked up and I left to find my boyfriend. Nizu's POV, it was time for the practical exam. I must say, this was going to be extremely interesting. The teachers, other than present Mike. We watched as the gates opened up. Izuku was the only one who ran. I never imagined I would someone so extraordinary as him. That kid's got good reflexes, Aizawa spoke up. All the teachers then turned their eyes towards Izuku. Hearing Aizawa compliment someone was extremely rare. I studied their faces as they watched in amazement at Izuku, who expertly took apart the robot and made a cannon. What do you know about him, Nizu? Hisashi looked curious. What did you call him to your office for? I knew he wouldn't want attention drawn towards him. That is Izuku Midoriya, he is one of the rare people who are quirkless. As such, he needs to catch up to his peers since he has a disadvantage. I had called him into my office for a separate written exam made by me personally. He is certainly smart and has quite the knowledge on support items. I made sure to give him credit where it was due. I had to, however, undermine the young genius's talent. Every teacher watched as he demolished one robot after another. I could tell that he was holding back, however the others couldn't. The next few years were going to change the course of history, and I personally couldn't wait. I pressed the button to send out the 0-pointer. Nizu, there's something wrong with the 0-pointer. Power Loader, PL, pointed out. He was right, it was causing too much damage, it was out of control. We couldn't stop it. Cementos. Quickly handle the situation, we all froze as we saw Izuku run toward the robot. Never mind Cementos, I think Izuku's got it handled. He would certainly make a good hero. After the entire ordeal was over and the entrance exams were finally finished. I have an announcement to make. I looked around the table where everyone had gathered to discuss the results. We will have a new staff member that is going to be joining our school. Please welcome All Might. I observed Aizawa squirm in his seat. I am here, All Might screamed and walked in with his buff form. Drop the form, All Might, he complied. I watched all the other teachers' eyes widen in shock as I explained his situation. I loved knowing things others did not. I loved revealing things to others and looking at their slowly widening eyes. After explaining everything, I paused to let everyone process the new information. After All Might had taken his seat, he was in skeleton form, now to begin the real reason of this meeting. Evaluating which students get into the hero course. Let's start with that quirkless boy. I could see that Aizawa had already taken a liking to Izuku. Why start with a quirkless? All Might spoke up. Izuku had already told me about All Might's quirkless behavior and also sent me a recording of him telling Izuku outright that he couldn't be a hero without a quirk. I for one, wasn't going to stand for it. If you are going to let your quirkest opinions cloud your better judgment, I don't think you belong in the UA staff. I was starting to get irritated. Young Izuku got the highest score with both hero points and rescue points. He also scored 87% in the special written exam that was prepared by me. He has already proved his worth. If anyone objects to this and has a valid reason, please speak up. But it would be too dangerous for him. All Might kept persisting. I was getting tired of speaking to a man who was as good as dead. The life of a hero is always dangerous. He has talent, and if we don't nurture it only because of stupid, baseless stereotypes, we will only cause more harm than good. I was thankful to Aizawa for stepping in and stopping All Might. I honestly never understood the reason behind All Might's fame. Everyone agreed to Izuku being in the hero course of Class 1A. All the other students were soon placed and the tiring yet exciting day had come to an end at last. I booted up my PC and opened my chat with Izuku. He was online, waiting for me to log in. Izuku's POV, I was waiting for Nizu, my laptop open. I knew I would get in, but I wanted to know if Cat had gotten in or not. I didn't doubt his talent, I only wanted to know if he was in my class or not. I also had to discuss with Nizu about Aizawa. I knew he would be my homeroom teacher. I wanted to know if it would be a good idea if he knew about our scheme or not. I saw the little icon below Nizu's username light up indicating that he was online. Hey Nizu, could you tell me if my boyfriend is in my class? This is the first time I'm hearing about a boyfriend, but sure. What is his name? Katsuki Bakugo S. He came in second in the exam, just after you. So yes, he is in class 1A along with you. That's great to hear. Now on to the real reason I was waiting for you. I could feel Nizu's interest radiate through the screen. Do you think it would be a good idea to tell Eraserhead about our plans? Nizu waited for a minute before he replied. That would honestly help us. Do you want me to tell him or do you want to do that yourself? I felt my lips curl into a smile. You can tell him however you please. This would help me in my goals. I would also like to share that both me and my boyfriend will be putting on a fake personality. He will also pretend to hate me for unrelated reasons. This information you and Eraserhead should know. With that I shut off my laptop. I texted Kat to come over, partly to tell him that he got in and mostly because I wanted to spend more time with him before school started in 2 weeks. Time skipped to when Kaken arrived, brought to you by Bottom Sasuke. I opened the door and welcomed in my appealing boyfriend. Hi Kat. I got good news. I closed the door behind him and we walked to my room. What is it, nerd? We got into UA. The same class too. I smiled as his eyes widened in shock. Seriously? How did you get to know? Oh come on Kat. Who do you think I am? I giggled. He just smiled and hugged me. I'm serious. What did you do this time? I rested my back against the bed frame and he came in closer to cuddle. Just a reminder, I do not write smut. This is all fluff. I outsmarted the devil and presented an offer that even he couldn't turn down. I felt Kaken freeze. I heard a sigh come from him before he lied down, head in my lap. You never fail to surprise me, nerd. I giggle. He would never stop calling me a nerd even though he was more so of a nerd. I mean, who even sleeps at 8:30 by choice? I started playing with his hair. Our homeroom teacher is Eraserhead. Your favorite hero. That's nice. Izu, do I have to act like I hate you? He got up and pouted. I wanted to say no for his sake, but I knew this was needed and so did he. Kat, I don't want that either, but we both know it is important for our cover. But what are the chances of our classmates coming into contact with extras from our past? I know, but small possibilities are still possibilities. I pulled him into a kiss. That is another reason I called you over. I am going to spend as much time with you as possible before school starts. He sunk his head into my chest, mumbling something along the lines of, F nerd. We sat comfortably, him almost on top of me, chatting till late at night. This day went better than I would have hoped it to. Nizu's POV, I had called Aizawa over to my office. I was running through all the information Izuku had given me. I hadn't expected him to have a partner, but at this point I knew that I wasn't someone who could predict Izuku's action and certainly couldn't read his mind. I heard a soft knock on my door. Must be Aizawa. Come in. I was excited to see his face of surprise when I tell him everything. What do you want, Nizu? He walked in, hair on his face, sipping on coffee. Take a seat, this might take a while. He sat down, still sipping on his coffee. He might need more of that once we were done. What are your honest opinions on quirkist views of the Hero Commission? He paused before speaking. I think that the Hero Commission is absolutely stupid, corrupt and trying and succeeding to spread their quirkist ideology. A powerful quirk doesn't make a hero. A hero makes a quirk. I don't even think one even needs a quirk to become a hero. That Midoriya kid is proof of that. He took a long sip of his seemingly bottomless cup of coffee before continuing. Sadly, there is no way to stop the hero commission. He sighed before looking me dead in the eyes. Why do you ask? I felt myself smile. There is a way to stop the hero commission. I waited to see his reaction. Aizawa was a smart man. I knew he could figure out what I meant. That's villainy, yes, but I have found a way for us to aid the villains without being a part of their schemes. Will you be willing to join? I needed to know if Aizawa would join or not before I revealed anyone's identity. I'll join. I had known he would join all along. He knew I would go ahead with it no matter what and knew it would be easier if knew what was going to happen. Alright then. We have a villain enrolled in our school this year. His eyes widened. Izuku Midoriya. He guessed. Yes. He is one of the masterminds behind the entire thing. Even I don't know anything. I am just to give him what he wants, when he wants. All I know is that there will be attacks on the school, no student will be killed. They will be harmed of course, but that will serve as training. It will only be All Might that gets killed. We will know nothing of what they are planning. He nodded. Is there anything else? Yes, Izuku will be using a fake persona with others, so if he is alone with you and acts differently, don't be surprised. Also, Katsuki Bakugo is high boyfriend but will be acting like they hate each other for unrelated reasons. Another thing to note would be that Izuku is smarter than me. Aizawa soaked in all the information with a look of dread on his face. He took another long sip of coffee, finishing it. He slammed it down. I'm going to need so much more coffee. He groaned and I smiled. With that he left. What a day it has been. Izuku's POV, I heard an annoying ringing. I could feel warmth against my body. Me and Kaken had agreed to have a sleep over the night over before school started. We had fallen asleep talking to each other and I was the first to wake up. Apparently in our sleep, I had spooned him. He moved in my arms. He also seems to have woken up. He turned over to face me. Good morning Kaken, I whispered in his ear. He buried his face in my chest. F you, a giggle left my mouth. Kat had never been a morning person. Time to wake up, love, he just squirmed in my arms. Could you at least get off of my arm? I groaned, my arm fell asleep. He grumbled and moved away. I sat up, softly kissed his forehead and headed off to get ready. I came out of the bathroom, ready to go, an innocent expression on. I walked over to the bed and scooped my boyfriend up. I carried him bridal style to the bathroom. I had already filled the bathtub with warm water. Kaken, I saw him open his eyes a little to look at me. If you don't get up I'm going to get your clothes wet. I looked at him as he started to look around, just waking up. Shitty nerd. I'm up. I'm up, he scrambled out of my arms and pushed me out of the door. I left his uniform out on the bed and went to the kitchen to make us breakfast. I got some steamed rice and miso soup. I had to look up what a traditional Japanese breakfast was. Never thought I would put so much effort into anything. By the time I was finished and set everything up, Kat walked out in full uniform. He scoffed when he looked at me. You look even more like a nerd in that. Really? Does it look bad? I said, in character. We ate together, both still in character. We left for school, taking separate paths. I navigated my way through the hallways until I found a large doorway with 1A written on it. I took in a deep breath in. I had to act all nervous. I pushed open the door. Loud chatter flowed out. I saw Kat-chan already in his seat, feet up on his desk, while a blue-haired guy shouted at him about respecting the seniors who used those desks before or something. I quietly made my way to my desk, which was behind Kat's. I looked around my classmates and found the same girl I had saved at the entrance exams. She saw me and walked up to me. Hi. I kinda forgot to introduce myself last time, didn't I? Her voice was high-pitched. My name is Ochako Uraraka. Hi Uraraka, I smiled slightly. And my name is Izuku Midoriya. Let's be friends, Midoriya. She seemed to be a nice girl. Sure, she smiled even brighter after hearing that. Just then I felt a presence enter the room and looked at the door. Eraserhead had just walked in, trying to conceal his presence. I quickly took my seat and looked at him with a smile. He noticed me looking and gave me an approving nod. After a while more, he spoke up, turning everyone who was in the room's attention to him. It took you all 2 minutes to realize I entered the class. I expect that to change. If you are here to make friends, leave. My name is Shota Aizawa. I am your homeroom teacher. The others stared in shock. I could see that no one knew who Eraserhead was. It was only expected since Aizawa hated publicity. Get changed into your sports uniforms and meet me in the grounds. With that, he left to go to the ground. I was the first one to get up and head to the changing rooms. I finished getting dressed as the others had finally walked in. I was the first to reach the grounds. I stood next to Aizawa. I assume Nizu has told you by now. He HMMD in response. Don't think that just because I am a villain right now, I'm not going to take school seriously. After the hero commission is changed, I will continue school and become a hero. That's good to hear. The other student filled into the grounds. We are going to have a quirk and physical assessment test. But what about the orientation? A tall girl with a long black ponytail said. That's not important. UA was known for its freestyle way of teaching that gave the teachers a lot of freedom. He pulled out a RBB ball. Bakugo, what was your highest score in long throw during middle school? 67 meters. Now throw it as far as you can using your quirk. Kaken took aim and launched it, explosions following it. It reached an astonishing 5 meters, this is fun. A pink alien-looking girl said. Fun. You think this is fun? Let's make it more serious then. The person to come last will be expelled, classic Aizawa gaining joy from others' misery. But that's not fair. It was Uraraka this time. Gosh. Whiny classmates again. Not fair. You think life is fair. You will do as you are told. We all began with running, long jump, side to side, etc., etc. I didn't care about the results, to be honest. I knew I wouldn't be last. A lot of my new classmates were quirkist and only relied on their quirks, even though their quirks were what society would call weak. After the test, I had placed at 9th and Kaken placed at 3rd. A girl named Toru Hagakure came in last place. When she saw the list, tears welled up in her eyes. No one is expelled. It was a logical ruse to get you all to try your hardest. Hagakure burst into tears at relief. I knew that it wasn't a ruse. Aizawa was known to expel his students. Aizawa must think this class has potential. Hey guys. I didn't think I would get writer's block so soon. By the way, I forgot to mention that Mineta isn't in class 1A and Shinso is the replacement. Who thinks Shinso should be in 1A? P.S. Sorry the chapter is smaller than usual, smiley face. Katsuki's POV, the first day of UA, my dream school was almost over. The last class of the day was the only one remaining. The entire class 1A had introduced themselves and we had already separated into groups. The nerd had told everyone that he didn't want to tell them his quirk yet. A few stupid extras had tried to become my friends. Shitty Hair tried the hardest of them all. Pinky, Dunce Face and Tape Arms had also been bothering me all day. Pinky looked like a pink alien who could throw acid around. Dunce Face was a human version of Pikachu and could use up to 300 million volts of electricity. Tape Arms had tape dispensers for elbows. And Shitty Hair could turn his entire body extremely hard. I couldn't bother to remember their actual names. What class do we have last? Shitty Hair asked. It's probably Hero class, the nerd spoke up. He was keeping a close eye on my friends since I had a pretty bad habit of making friends with assholes. That makes sense, said Pinky. Just then the door burst open. I am here. entering through the door like a normal person. There was a rumor that All Might was going to be our heroics teacher, but it was never confirmed. Guess that was true. Whispers immediately started spreading. Everyone other than me and Izu were excited to have him teach us. Put on your hero costumes and meet me in Fake City. What were the fake cities called again? All Might left and we all headed to the changing rooms slowly, still talking about how All Might was going to be our teacher. I knew that Niza knew about All Might's stupidity. I didn't understand why he still hired the F-er. We all changed into our hero costumes. Izu put together my costume. Being an analyst, he was pretty good at this kind of things. He made these loose, baggy pants with black sleeves and a sleeveless black tank top that had a big orange X across the chest. The coolest part. He added these huge, grenade-looking gauntlets that could collect my sweat so I can make even bigger explosions. I also asked him to throw in a mask, and he made this jagged black one with orange-rimmed flares. He added a green and orange belt, and it even comes with grenades for extra firepower. The whole thing was topped off with black knee-high boots that have bright orange soles. I loved it. I added a mental note to thank him for it later. Izu had a simple black dress shirt and black trousers topped off with a dark green overcoat to store his knives and katana. He had picked up the katana as his secondary weapon after the scythe, since if he used a scythe at school, his identity would be found pretty easily. We all reached City A and entered what looked like an observation room. All Might was waiting for us there. Alright, for this exercise you will be going against each other in a heroes versus villains. I will make the teams now. The BSTRD kept eyeing Izu weird. I had a bad feeling that he was going to cause trouble. I was paired up with the annoying as F blue-haired boy that was beaching about me, putting my feet up on the desk. Just great. I looked through the list to find that my nerd hadn't been paired up with anyone. Instead there was a team of 3. That BSTRD. Guess who has a fever? Me. I was halfway done with this and didn't want to have to keep this as a draft, so sorry it's small. Maybe you'll update TMR, maybe I won't. So oh well. By All Might's POV, I had finished preparing for the first heroics class. I would be excited if I didn't have to waste my time on the quirkless. I wasn't even allowed to tell any of the other students about the quirkless. I'm so ashamed that I was born like that too. It was only with the help and blessing from my mentor that helped me realize exactly how useless I had been. Not hate on Nana Shimura. I love Nana. I had come up with a genius plan to encourage quirkless to find a more suitable dream for the future. I don't understand how none of the other staff realizes how pointless this is. I planned on discrediting Midoriya to the point they have to expel him. I'm sorry you guys had to read that SHT, Izuku's POV. I had been put against Kat and Ida. I could take them down pretty easily, but I didn't want to hurt Kat. I wanted him to go all out against me. He would do exactly that and so would I. We entered the building. All I had to do was capture the 2 heroes and get a hold of the bomb. I walked towards a window. On one of the lower floors. I dashed downstairs and searched around. The bomb wasn't on any of the bottom floors. I rushed upstairs, searching through every floor until I came across Kat. He was the first one to attack with his predictable right hook. I dodged and pulled out my katana. We both stood for a while. This time I took the initiative to attack. I ran at him while he also did the same. I was right next to the wall. I jumped up, hit my legs against the wall and pushed myself away. Doing a backflip, I landed next to Kat and sliced at his arm. I was sure he would be able to stop it from making a deep scar. I watched in horror as my blade cut too deep. I guess I was getting faster. He pulled back and used an explosion on me. I was blasted back, a burn mark appearing on my shoulder. I picked up one of my throwing knives and threw it close to Kat, making sure that it wouldn't hit him. We went back and forth a while, him trying to keep a distance and me inching closer. I managed to get him distracted and a pressure point on the side of his neck called carotid sinus, Don't ask why I know, and just so you know, if this pressure point isn't handled professionally, it can lead to death, so don't Google its location and try it out. This immobilized him for a couple of seconds. That was enough for me to tie his hands in the capture wire that All Might had given us. I made sure Cat woke up. I propped him against a wall and whispered a small apology in his ear before getting up to search the other floors. I would apologize to Cat properly later. After a couple of floors, I finally found Ida. He seemed to be walking around like the true fake Sonic. He is practicing a lame monologue. And what is up with that stereotype? Not all villains monologue. Take me for example, I would immobilize or capture you as quickly as possible. I hid my presence and crept up behind him and went straight to the bomb that barely even looked like a bomb. I touched it and grinned a shy grin at where I knew the camera was. I heard All Might's voice say, "Midoriya. Take Bakugo and yourself to recovery girl." His voice was annoying as ever. I found my way back to my boyfriend, who was still bleeding from several cuts. I knew that no one was watching through the cameras except Nizu, so I ran over to him and picked him up in a bridal carry. I removed my gloves and put them over the cut and applied pressure. I could lift him up pretty easily. I made sure he was comfortable in my arms before rushing to recovery girl. She took one look at us, ordered us both in bed. She paid attention to Cat first, since he was losing quite a lot of after she was done with him, covering every single one of his cuts. Even the small ones. I must say she is excellent at her job. After Cat was all wrapped up and asleep, she moved to me. She carefully healed all the burns and gave me creams to apply to them. You both have a good rest and leave when you feel like it, okay dearies. After she was done, she promptly left. Heroics was the last class of the day, so we had nothing more to do. We just needed to collect our stuff and head home. I should probably wake him up. I walked over to him. My heart melted as I saw him sleeping so peacefully. I brushed the hair of his face and kissed him as gently as I could on his forehead. He stirred and blinked softly before looking at me. He sat up and looked at me and the burns on my skin. I could see his face drop when he saw them. He lifted his hand and touched it softly. "I'm sorry." His voice was barely a whisper. He didn't have to be sorry, it was just training. "I'm sorry too, I didn't mean to make the cut so deep." I sat next to him and gently placed my hand over his deep gash. "The school day is over already. Do you want to go home?" He nodded and we both got up to leave. We quickly got our stuff from the empty class and left. We walked in a comfortable silence until we reached my apartment. I headed into my room and quickly changed. I sat down on the couch as Cat went in to change. I was ordering some pizza on my phone. Cat came out and walked up to me and pouted. I felt a soft smile appear on my face. I knew what he wanted, so I grabbed him and sat him down on my lap. He immediately curled up in my arms and rested his head on my chest. "I hurt you again." I didn't realize it had affected him so much. I hugged him tighter, I kissed him lightly on the forehead. "I know you don't want to hurt me, it was just a stupid exercise. Don't beat yourself up about it. I know you love me." He looked at me with eyes full of worry. "I'm the one that hurt you, yet you are the one comforting me." He scoffed. "Does Katsuki Bakugo think his boyfriend is weak?" A smile crept onto my face again. Did he forget that he's dating the son of the top villains? Did he forget that he's the one who got stitches? I heard him laugh, worry disappearing from his eyes. I leaned down and kissed him. "I've never felt happier, ever. I love you so much." I look at him as his cheeks immediately turn a deep shade of red, matching his new friend's hair color. "Don't say stuff like that out of the blue." I let out a giggle. Izuku's POV. Did you make any friends? I think of the few people who seem to take a liking to me. Yeah, Ochako Uraraka, the one with the float quirk that looks like a Kirby. He snickered at that. I am so going to call her that. I let out a sigh. Cat was known to not bother remembering people's names. And that tall blue-haired guy that was bothering you at the start of the day. His name is Tenya Ida. He's Ingenium's brother. Why him? He may be rules obsessed, but he is quite nice. Cat just hums in response. And also the guy with white and red hair. Shoto Todoroki. He's Endeavor's kid. He doesn't socialize much, probably because of his father. I had recently found out that Enji Todoroki was an abusive beach. I couldn't wait to take him down along with All Might. I hear the doorbell ring. The pizza must be here. Cat got up and got the pizza in and got a couple of plates for us. He put it on the table and sat down beside me this time. Your friends also seem nice, I said while picking up a slice and biting into it. They're annoying. Cat never really liked making friends. You'll warm up to them eventually. They seem like nice people. I had hated all of his old friends. They were all fakes and Cat knew it too. All the people around him earlier only wanted a share of his glory and to bask in Cat's powerful quirk. They never wanted to really be his friends. Maybe that was the reason he didn't open up to anyone other than me. So you approve of them? He raised an eyebrow at me. They're better than your old ones. Well, you've always had a better judge of character than me, so I'll take your word for it. I smiled at his remark. I picked up the now empty pizza box and the plates. I threw out the pizza box and quickly washed and dried the dishes. I went back to the couch and sat down next to Cat and pulled him onto me again. My head buried itself in the crook of his neck. I loved cuddling with him. Why do you manhandle me so much? He groaned but melted into the hug. Oh. Should I stop? No, he mumbled, covering his face with embarrassment. I have villain business to take care of today. Tenko found new members to join his little team and you will not believe what he's calling it. I start laughing as I recall the memory of him telling me. What's he calling it? The League of Villains. A snicker escapes my mouth and we both start laughing. The League of Villains. Like the League of Legends. I think your brother has been spending too much time playing games. I know, right? I tried to talk him out of it but he didn't listen. My phone started ringing and it was Tenko calling me. I picked up the call. Hey Tenko and I, what's up? I tried to pretend that we weren't bashing him just now. You and your little dandelion were talking SHT about me, weren't you? How the F did he know? Well, not like I really care. Cat and I burst out laughing again. Cat gripped onto me so that he wouldn't fall off. The League of Villains. Really, Shiggy? Cat said between gasps of breath from laughing too hard, clutching my neck for dear life. I grabbed his waist to help him balance. Oh, come on. I could hear the exasperation in his voice, which only made me laugh more. Shut up, you two. And Izu, come to the base at midnight. He hung up the phone without saying another word. Your brother is hilarious. I agree. We continued to laugh for a while. I looked over at the time. It was almost better get some sleep before the long night Tenko was going to make me endure. It's 9 already. Let's get some sleep. He nodded and I picked him up. I can walk, you know. And you know how much I like physical affection. It was true, my love language was physical affection. We both got in bed and snuggled with each other. I set an alarm on my phone for 11:30 and put it under my bed so that Cat wouldn't wake up in the middle of the night because of me. Half the times Cat slept over at my place since my parents treated the base as a house and were never really at the apartment. He only rarely went to his actual home. Auntie Mitsuki, who knew about the whole villain thing, allowed it because she wanted us to get married already. Time skipped to when Izuku arrives at the base, brought to you by Zeus being in. But father, I checked my mask again, it was securely locked in place. The mask was black with green glittery lines running all over it. I had designed it such that when light hits it just right, it would look like a void with only chaos around it. The new recruits were to arrive soon. I was both excited and nervous. Tenko and I were all sitting in the throne rooms. Mom was famous for being a mystery, so she didn't show up to greet the new recruits who may or may not be joining. Dad wanted Tenko to choose his own members but wanted me here to analyze them. The purple void opened up in front of us and I put my head on my hand in anticipation. I saw 6 people walk through. I recognized one to be muscular, a beefy, heavily muscular villain with an appearance that matches his power. His muscles are incredibly large, bulging out of his body, giving him a hulking and intimidating figure. His skin is light-toned, and his eyes are large, with a red tint. His hair was short and messy, spiky, with some strands sticking out in all directions. He wore a white sleeveless shirt that exposes his bulging muscles, as well as black pants that are tightly fitted around his legs. The other went around and introduced themselves twice was a disheveled, paranoid-looking man with a rather wild and chaotic appearance. His face was covered by a white mask. This mask had black markings, creating a hollow and unsettling look. His clothing consists of a black, tight-fitting jumpsuit with a large collar and several pouches hanging from his waist, adding to his erratic and eccentric style. His posture and movements often seem erratic, reflecting his unstable personality. His quirk was to make copies of anything he wants as long as he has exact measurements of the thing. Himiko Toga has a lively, wild appearance that reflects her erratic. She has blonde hair that is styled into 2 pigtails with red ribbons tied around them, and her face has a youthful appearance with a mischievous smile that makes her seem deceptively innocent. Her eyes are a piercing golden color, and she has a wide grin that can shift to an eerie, unsettling look. Toga was wearing a school uniform that consists of a white blouse, red tie, and skirt, which giving her a more innocent appearance than most of the other villains. However, her clothes, combined with her happy-go-lucky attitude, create a jarring contrast with her violent tendencies. Mr. Compress had a theatrical appearance, reflecting his somewhat charming yet dangerous personality. He wore a purple suit, which consists of a tailcoat with a high collar and a black vest underneath. His hair is styled in a slick-back manner, giving him a neat appearance, and his face is partially covered by a black mask that has a slit for his eyes, leaving only his sharp features and deep-set eyes visible. He also wore white gloves and boots to complement his polished look. His overall aesthetic is that of a showman, using his refined attire to mask the dangerous nature of his powers, which involve compressing objects and people into small ball. Moonfish has an unnervingly and disturbing appearance. He is a tall, muscular, and lean figure, with long, sharp teeth that protrude from his mouth and jaw, looking like savage blades. His long, dark hair is wild and unkempt, falling around his face and giving him a feral look. His eyes are a pale, sickly yellow, and his face has a disfigured, creepy expression, making him seem less human and more like a predator. His teeth can extend into blades, adding to his already terrifying look. He typically wears a tattered dark coat and pants, completing his wild, almost animalistic appearance. His overall design makes him appear both dangerous and unhinged, like someone with no sense of restraint. His quirk allows him to transform his teeth into sharp, blade-like structures that can extend and be used as weapons in combat. Mustard's appearance was strange. He has a slender, wiry frame, and his pale yellow hair is styled into a spiky, messy look, which is one of his most noticeable features. His eyes are a bright, yellow-orange color, giving him a somewhat creepy, unsettling gaze. He wears a dark brown trench coat with a high collar, and his outfit includes gloves and boots, adding a slightly militaristic look to his appearance. His gas mask stood out to me. It's customized with large, circular lenses that make his eyes appear even more glaring and intense. His quirk was a poisonous gas. The mask meant that he was weak to his own gas. Dobby's appearance was striking, with his burned and scarred skin being one of his most defining features. His skin is darkened from third-degree burns, giving him an almost charred look. His right side is significantly more scarred than his left, with his mouth and cheek visibly burned and his blue flame-like tattoos across his neck, face, and body. His hair is spiky, dark blue, and unkempt, and his eyes are a deep icy blue, glowing with an unsettling cold intensity. Dobby wore a dark, sleeveless hoodie with a high collar that obscures most of his neck and a pair of black pants, giving him a rugged, disheveled appearance that matches his menacing persona. His quirk was blue flames that burned hotter than any other. He reminded me of one Tuya Todoroki. Izuku's POV, I could see them all look at us nervously, even Muscular looked a bit scared. Tenko Nii was the first to speak up. I am Tomura Shigaraki, I will be your leader. Now, why do you want to join the League of Villains? Dabi was the first to speak up. I hate the fake heroes that seem to be running the country right now. I want change. Was he talking about his father? Toga spoke up next. My quirk makes me go. No one helped me with it, they just said that I was a villain before I had even done anything. I want to change the country for the other people out there that have to go through what I did. Her face contorted as she grabbed the syringes at her belt. Moonfish spoke up, my quirk changes my appearance. Everyone expected me to become a villain for my appearance and I don't want that to happen to other. Plain and simple, I like it. Twice went next, no one helped with my quirk when I asked for help. I could see a lot of them had similar backstories. At least these mother F heirs had quirks to rely on and defend themselves from. People hated me for my quirk, like the others, Mustard spoke up this time. Same here, Mr. Compress also added I could understand where all the others were coming from, but what about Muscular? He had a quirk that everyone glorified. Me too, I could see very clearly that he was lying. You are lying, I tilted my head and everyone's attention went straight to me. Your quirk is quite powerful, anyone here would die for it except for Tomura, I guess. You go around parading the power of your quirk and how proud you are of it by killing heroes, so why do you want to join a group that wants to empower what people like you call weak? I tilted my head a little more. I moved my hand slowly to my side to hold on to my loaded pistol. No one seemed to have noticed me. What do you know? Who even are you? I could practically hear Tenko laugh on the inside. We were told the boss was Tomura Shigaraki. You can't order me around. Oh, the audacity. He wasn't the one holding the gun. Even if it was a tranquilizer gun. Answer the question, Muscular, Tenko interjected. I want to kill people, okay? I will be useful since you lot have weak quirks. I just think organized crime should be my next step. I looked at him, not bothering to hide my utter disgust. Get out. My voice was reflected all the disgust my face couldn't show. No. What will you do? Well, can't say I didn't warn him. I pulled my gun and shot straight at his head before he even had the chance to activate his quirk. Before anyone could react, his body fell with a flop. I pulled out a paper and wrote Hate Sakachi. I am a new villain by the name of Cypher. Muscular got in my way, so can you deal with him? Tell Eraserhead I said hi. I pulled out a quirk-canceling handcuff and walked over to his body, attaching the note and fastening the HNDCFFS. Kurojiri, give him to Sakachi, the others watched in horror as Muscular's body disappeared in a purple smoke. I walked back up and sat down. Tenko cleared his throat. This is Cypher, my little brother. Everyone looked back at me, still shocked. The rest are good to go, I need to talk to Dabi though. Tenko nodded and turned to them again. Cypher is an analyst. He was here to see if any of you lied for ulterior motives. He paused before continuing, welcome to the League of Villains. Dabi, if you will please wait. The others can leave. Separate portals took all other members to where they came from, leaving only a Dabi who seemed to be trying too hard to not look intimidated. I couldn't blame him, of course. I had just shot a man much larger than him in the head only a few seconds ago. He would be a fool to not be scared. Tenko had already left the room. No need to be scared, I was lying. There is absolutely need to be scared. Tuya, I felt the same smile that has struck fear into the hearts of many creep onto my face. He couldn't see my face, of course, but he felt fear. What did Enji Todoroki do? We might be able to help you, and your information may be able to help us get him arrested. I could see him relax. He forced Mom into a quirk marriage. All my siblings were a result of that. Since my fire was even hotter than his, he trained me until I physically couldn't anymore. When Shoto, the youngest, was born with the ideal quirk. A perfect half and half. Just what Endeavor wanted, he ignored me and focused on him. Shoto got it worse after I left. Mom was sent to a mental hospital too, so there's no one to step in. She is probably safer and happier there though. I studied his face as he spoke. I could see that he was being genuine. What about your other siblings? Fuyumi, my little sister, she is strong. She'll handle the others, I know it. Natsuo, he was always a little blind to what was going on, but now that I've left, he realized what was going on. Shoto is young, he recently got into UA, the school will take enough time away from the house, so that's good. I had gotten up and walked up pretty close to him. His eyes were lowered to the floor so he didn't notice me. When he looked up to see me, he flinched back. I walked a few paces back to ensure distance. If you promise us your full loyalty, I can look after Shoto for you. I would do that even if he didn't, but he didn't have to know that. Dabi would prove to be very useful. See, can you? Yes. I will do anything. Perfect. I had his loyalty. I am the UA traitor. Shoto already became my friend actually. Today was the first day of school. Dabi seemed confused. I may look older because of the mask, but we decided I would fit the role of the UA traitor since I am the perfect age. Oh wait, you're 15. I laughed. Yes I am, now if you will tell me more about Shoto. I will have a better chance to get him to open up to me. He nodded. Shoto is a quiet boy. Endeavor isolated him from the rest of us so that we wouldn't spread our uselessness to him. He chuckled at the memory. That's why I don't actually know much about him. Sorry. It's alright. I'll just befriend him the normal way. Thank you, Dabi. With that, Kurogiri teleported him out. I headed back to where my family was waiting. Izuku, found anything valuable? It was Dad. Yes, I don't think he wants to share it just yet, but it's enough to get Endeavor arrested. I was already plotting the several ways we could take down Endeavor. Izuku's POV, my alarm ringed. I turned over and turned it off. Kat was also just getting up. Yesterday had been an eventful day. The first day of both the school and the league. I had texted Nizu to send me a plan of all upcoming events where All Might would be taking a class outside of the school. The first was tomorrow, my class was going to be visiting the USJ. I had sent all the information to Dad. Our first appearance will be tomorrow. I can't wait. I had a quick bath and sent Kat after me. He was still half asleep as always. I had borrowed some of Mom's makeup. I had to try and look a little sick so there wouldn't be any suspicion as to why I didn't show up tomorrow. Kat had made some cereal for us. We ate while I told him about the USJ and we made our way to school separately. Time skip to school brought to you by Perkabeth. Midoriya. You look sick, are you okay? Uraraka really was a kind girl. J just feeling a little tired, Uraraka. Thanks for asking, the day went pretty normal. Since we had heroics every other day, we didn't have it today. A few people asked me if I was sick, so it will be safe to not show up tomorrow. Another time skip to the start of the next day brought to you by L and Light. I had already triple-checked everything and hacked the USJ system to not send any alerts. We show our face, tell our motive, scare the heroes, possibly injure All Might and then return. I had already told Aizawa that I wasn't going to show up to school today. He is a smart man, I know that he figured out that we were going to attack today. We had gathered a bunch of low-level thugs that wouldn't be able to harm the students, just keep them busy. The thugs had already been told that they couldn't kill anyone. They were told by Tenko to just keep them busy, not injure them, not kill them. It was time for heroics class pretty soon. Kat was going to text me when they arrived. Right now, we were all waiting for the text to arrive so our plan could be put into play. I heard my notification go off. They arrived. Get in positions. All Might isn't there with them, but he will arrive soon enough. Let's get moving. We waited for an extra 10 minutes before Kurogiri opened a large portal in front of us. Tenko and I took the lead with Kurogiri standing behind us. Hey, they hired fake villains too. I looked up to see Kirishima. Stand back. They are real. Aizawa stood protectively in front of his student, scarf in hand, hair standing up indicating his quirk was activated. The USJ was appealing. I would love to come here again as a hero. Don't worry heroes, we only want All Might. We don't want to hurt anybody else. Tenko looked too weird, covered in hands. This probably scared my class. Erase her head. We will not harm your student or you if you give us a fair fight against All Might, who I can see, isn't here. Yet. Tenko didn't look scary to me of course, but I could see that the others were terrified. Send Tenya Ida to call for backup. I promise on my life that there is no ambush. Aizawa seemed to consider it before nodding. And Ida ran out the door after bursting it open. What do you want villains? Must say, Cat is a great actor. I was grateful for him since this gave me an opportunity to tell everyone our motive. The Hero Commission is corrupt and they are using All Might to hide it. All Might, known as the symbol of peace, is also known as the symbol of suicide in the underground world. I pause for dramatic effect, 'cause why not? You see him saving so many people, but you don't see him comforting, consoling distraught citizens. He shows up, defeats the villain in flashy moves that cause unnecessary damage and leaves without a second thought for others. I could see realization dawn upon the others. That too, you can see him saving only people with powerful quirks. What happens to those with weak or villainous quirks? What about them? Aren't they people too? The Hero Commission is promoting discrimination. All Might is going along with it and supporting it. He is known as the symbol of suicide because in his entire career he has been the cause and reason for 20,000 suicides. Of course the Hero Commission hid this. I felt a smile creep back onto my face. The others couldn't see it, but I'm sure they felt it. Just look and see how he treats the ones with weaker quirks as compared to all of you. One student in your class has also been subjected to this already now, hasn't he? Izuku Midoriya is the name, I believe. Should I reveal that Izuku Midoriya is quirkless or not? It would be quite the gamble. What's life without risks? He is one of the very few who are born quirkless. He is one brave boy. Right now there are around 4 quirkless his age. Most of them suicide before the age of. You must have noticed that All Might treats him different from the others. Tenko continued for me. I am the villain Cypher. The first quirkless villain ever. If you don't want my word for it, just watch how All Might treats Midoriya differently. This was working quite well. The seed of doubt was already etched into the minds of the students. I could hear loud thuds and feel the large vibrations through the ground. All Might was here. Perfect. I nodded to Tenko and Kurogiri, signaling to them that All Might was here. Now, we wouldn't want you students to get hurt while the hypocrite uses excessive brute force again, now would we? Since we already interrupted your class, we took the effort of hiring low-level thugs that will be helping you all train. They have been instructed not to kill, so don't you worry. Just as All Might burst in through the door along, Kurogiri finished teleporting all students in random groups with the thugs. I am here. The Nomu I had made appeared behind us. Dr. Garaki and I had developed a weird bond over making nomus. I had gotten quite good at pointing out things that he hadn't considered. Nomu, attack that BSTRD. I pointed at All Might. Now all we had to do was wait till All Might either died or overexerted himself trying too hard. I had a feeling it would be the latter. Time skipped to after the USJ incident brought to you by Red. All Might ended up overexerting himself. His quirk time should be somewhere around 5 hours. He still hasn't passed his quirk down to anyone because according to Nizu, All Might thought that Mirio Togoda's original quirk was too weak for him to take on one for all. I'm not gonna have All Might pass his quirk down at all. It feels weird for anyone other than Deku to have it so All Might dies without passing it down. UA had given us an entire week off for the quote, traumatic experience. If a little encounter with villains would be considered traumatic, what do these BSTRDS expect to do in the future when it's their job to fight villains? How pretentious. I am happy for the holiday though. None of my new classmates were hurt in the attack. They didn't have to recover from anything physical. Since school was off as well, the only thing they could do was think. Think about all the stuff we told them. I'm sure a lot of the resourceful ones would try to research on their own and find the several people who tried to speak up against it only to be silenced. For the first time in my life, I was looking forward to Monday. Cypher had told my class that I was quirkless. Now all I had to do was tell my sob story and gain sympathy. I am worried that they might view me differently now that they know that I am quirkless, but that's nothing compared to what I put up in my quirkest middle school, so I'm not entirely worried. After all, I will always have my kaken. I smiled at the thought of my boyfriend. Watch us smiling at Cypher. I completely forgot where I was. I was hanging with the League of Villains. Trying to form a bond. These people were really nice, so a bond was forming. Especially Dabi, I have his complete loyalty, so he's been talking with me a lot. Just remembered my boyfriend. I smiled again. Wait, you're gay. Mustard spoke up. Yeah. I know, quirkless, gay and too smart for my own good. I'm the humanified version of taboos. I laugh. To say that I wasn't accepted by the public would be an understatement. Finding friends was rare for me. I was lucky I had Cat. Me too, Dabi spoke up, startling most of the others. Gay, I'm gay too. I held a hand up for a high five and he smiled and high-fived me. Izu, you seem to be getting along with my league better than I do. Tenko groaned and I just laughed. That's because you're an antisocial beach, Tenko. He just rolled his head at that. Hey, why does Cypher call Shigaraki Tenko? My ears were pretty sharp as well. As the author, I'm basing Izu's new personality off of mine, but don't I wish I had good hearing. My friends think I need hearing aids. TT, that's his real name, Toga. She flinched when I answered her question. Oh. What's your real name, if you are okay with telling us that, Cypher? She recovered pretty quickly. I would tell you, but I need it secret for now. I'll tell you sometime later. They nodded at that. Time skip to school on Monday brought to you guys by my writer's block. There was a strange hush in the class today. The reason for this was probably what I had said in the USJ. Midoriya, are you quirkless? Ida was the first to ask me. I was expecting this. I fake flinched. How did you find out? I was at MSTR at faking panic by now. My eyes darted around the room studying the expression on everyone's faces. Why didn't you tell us? Urarika's voice was soft. IW was bullied pretty badly throughout my L life. IJ just wanted FF friends. I'm sorry I hid it. Crocodile tears welled up in my eyes. Learning how to fake cry was pretty useful. Stop bothering him. The teachers knew about this. We weren't supposed to tell all of you because the bullying he endured went a little too far. Aizawa came to my rescue. Thank God. I didn't want to have to explain in my stutter. How bad was it? If you don't mind telling us, that is. Mina was another sweet and genuine girl. One of Kat's friends. Would telling them the complete truth help? Yeah, probably. The worst thing they did was suicide baiting. It got exactly the reaction I was hoping for. Stunned silence. Not even Kat knew about the suicide baiting. Only my parents and Tenko had known about that. Why the F didn't you tell me it was that bad? Of course Cat was going to get mad. What do you mean Bakubro? We went to the same middle school. Even though we didn't get along, he tried to protect me, but no one can do much when even the teacher are against you. God damn it, my stutter. I was looking down at my feet and faking a tremble. I felt several pairs of arms wrap around me. I looked up to see Uraraka, Ida, Todoroki, Mina, Kirishima and Kaminari all trying to hug me. I didn't need to fake cry anymore. Real tears poured down from my eyes. No one other than Kat and my family had ever accepted me. After Aizawa had calmed everyone down, he let us discuss with each other about what happened in the USJ. Uraraka filled me in on what had happened as well as told me how they found out I was quirkless. Did anyone try to find out if what the villain said about All Might was true? Momo was a nice girl, she had her insecurities but had a lot of potential. Almost the entire class nodded. Did you all also notice how every single person who tried to mention it seemed to be silenced? Only a few people had noticed that. Realization dawned on their faces. Do you think the villains are right? Kirishima was the one. Brave enough to say what everyone else was thinking. Should I show them the recording on my phone? No, that would bring up suspicion since that was going to be very useful later on. Can't have them connect the fact that I was a villain just yet. The villains didn't even hurt us, they hired small-time thugs as a form of practice for us and in the process they handed the police quite a large number of lawbreakers. Ida was pretty smart. Izuku's POV Aizawa had told us that it was time to vote for class representative. I voted for Ida. He had a strict personality, he was smart and quite capable. A lot of people seemed to agree. Ida became the class rep and Momo was the vice class rep. Everyone was still quite in shock, trying to contemplate if All Might is what others make him out to be. It was time for the last class of the day, heroics. Everyone was on edge, waiting for All Might. He entered his normal boisterous way with his catchphrase I am here. We all gathered up in Gym Gamma, AN, that how you spell it. I guess All Might was feeling especially lazy today so he just told us to pick partners and spar, and to ask for advice if needed. This was perfect for me though, I could prove his quirkless behavior even more. Kirishima had asked me to spar with him. I could feel All Might's eyes on me. He was probably trying to catch a laugh. After a short while, I had Kirishima face down on the ground and my knee buried in his back. After helping him up, I went to All Might to ask for advice. My entire class's eyes followed me as I made my way over to All Might. Him, being dumb, didn't realize the eyes on him. All Might. What is it? He snapped at me, as if I was wasting his time. See, could you give me some advice? He would probably either ignore me or say something dumb. Both of which would work in my favor. Use your quirk more. He said that with a SHT-eating grin. How stupid. I smiled internally. I put my head down and trudged back to my classmates. I could hear Mina gasp under her breath. Heroics ended soon enough and all of us trudged back to class to collect our belongings before heading home. Just as I had collected all my belongings, all my classmates came and approached me. Hey, Midoriya, we're so sorry we didn't notice the discrimination, Karo. Tsu was blunt, but always genuine. We want to tell you that we're here for you. Uraraka smiled at me. We will not stand for such blatant discrimination towards a fellow discrimination. You're really manly. Midobro. You don't need a quirk. Tears started spilling down my face again and once again I was engulfed in a giant group hug. Never had I ever expected to have so many friends that cared about me so much. We saw All Might discriminate against the quirkless pretty clearly. Do you think the villains were right? I can't help but agree. I mean the numbers don't lie. All Might has been mentioned in over 1,000 suicide notes. Momo really did some in-depth research. After a long day, I was finally home. I opened the door to find Kat waiting for me. Hey Kaken, I didn't know you were going to come over today. He was probably still mad at me for not telling him about the suicide baiting. Why didn't you tell me? I'm sorry, Cat, I know you're worried about me. I never listened to them, I never thought about killing myself, don't worry. I pulled him into a hug. Why was I so blind? You weren't blind, Cat. I probably should have told him beforehand. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, Cat, don't apologize, god damn it. Look, Katsuki, I know what they did was not right. I know that they were stupid kids who were encouraged by awful adults. I didn't take them seriously. I'm going to change what others think of people like me. I laughed at the BSTRDS that told me I was useless. You don't have to worry about me, I smiled down at his pout. Never mind, I take that back. Be worried for me, you look cute when you look worried. I laughed as he elbowed me. Time skipped to the next day, brought to you by my insomnia. Aizawa had finished telling us about the sports festival. He had also told me that I can carry any 2 weapons of my choice. All of us were extremely excited for it. Finally, a normal school activity. Nizu was probably still going ahead with the sports festival to show the public that UA was doing just fine. Little did Nizu know, at the end of the sports festival all the evidence we have about All Might being a hypocrite and an overall beach is going to be revealed. I must admit, I did feel guilty that for interrupting a UA activity again, but it really couldn't be helped. I mean, almost the entire country watches the live stream of the UA festival. This would be the most effective way to spread our motive into the larger audience. Ida, Uraraka, and Todoroki had become closer to me, and Sue had also become our friend. Hey, Midoriya. Why yeah, Uraraka. You said that you and Bakugo didn't really get along. What was that all about? WL, our moms are friends and we've practically known each other since we were babies. But we didn't exactly get along much. We don't know why, it's just how it is. This couldn't be further from the truth. Kat and I were inseparable as kids. How do you think the villains knew All Might was going to be at the USJ with us? Smart of Ida to notice. Everyone was quite busy thinking about All Might to think about how the villains knew their timetable. Another silence followed as everyone contemplated all the possibilities. Do you think there is a traitor? Why don't I try and help them figure it out a little? Looks like you kids finally thought of that to be a possibility. Aizawa said from his sleeping bag. Someone tell me where I can buy that iconic yellow caterpillar sleeping bag. Yes, there is a traitor, but at times like this, it is better to find cold hard evidence before pointing fingers at anyone. That breaks trust and makes the situation easier for the traitor. Everyone including me murmured in agreement. If they pointed fingers at each other, it would make UA implode on itself. That is, however, not our goal. We will be relying on UA students a lot after the upcoming war. The destruction of UA wouldn't be helpful at all. So this was the best course of action. After all, Nizu already knows who the traitor is. Katsuki's POV, it's been on Izuku's POV for a while, hasn't it? It's the day before the sports festival. Izu has been plotting something big. With that and practice, we haven't been able to spend much time together. He was coming over to my house after quite some time. We were going to have lunch with my old hag and then spend some time together. I decided to make katsudon for the nerd. I just know he hasn't been eating enough. He has a tendency to overwork himself. Just as I was finishing up, the doorbell rang and old hag half ran to open the door. She really likes Izu. I couldn't stop myself from smiling at that. Old hag wanted us to get married as soon as possible so that her and Auntie Inko could be sisters in a way. Izuku. I'm so glad you're here. I missed you so much. Hi Auntie. I missed you too. I should visit more often, shouldn't I? Yes, now come in. Katsuki made your favorite. Hey nerd. Hi Kat. I'm sorry I've not been able to meet up in a while. I've been so busy with our plans. I know. As long as you make up for it now. I walked up to him and planted a kiss on his lips, ignoring old Hag's squealing. I set the katsudon on the table and we all sat down to eat. I love your katsudon so much, Izuku sighed as he ate. Not as much as Mom's though. I would be offended, but we all agreed that Auntie Inko was the best cook. After a nice lunch, Mom left for work and me and Izu decided to watch a movie. Izu latched onto me as we made our way to the sofa. His eyes were drooping and his movements were sluggish. I stopped halfway to the couch. How long did you sleep last night? 2 hours. I let a sigh escape. I turned around and picked him up. I walked up to the couch and sat down with him on me. I pulled out my phone and made sure the stupid nerd was comfortable. What the F were you even doing? You'll get to know tomorrow along with everyone else. Villain stuff. Yeah, alright, now F sleep. But I promised to spend time with you, now sleep. I didn't need to say anything more. The idiot fell asleep almost instantly. How many times do I have to tell him to stop? F, overworking himself. I let out another sigh and went on with my game. What game do you think Bakugo's playing? A couple of hours later, I felt Izuku's shift in my arms. Hey sleepyhead. How long did I sleep? Only 4 hours. Only. He quickly scrambled and got up. I followed him. I'm really sorry Kaken, I have to get ready for tomorrow. He planted a kiss on my head and ran out the door. See you tomorrow nerd, I shouted behind him as he waved me a goodbye. When the F will he learn to take a goddamn rest? Time skip to the start of the sports festival brought to you by me writing this instead of studying for my exam, Izuku's POV. I felt pretty bad after running out on Cat. I was planning to celebrate with him after the sports festival. I couldn't win since that would draw way too much unnecessary attention to me, but I knew Cat was going all out and I was damn sure he was going to come in first. The only 2 weapons I was going to carry was my katana and a small dagger. I got ready and headed to school making sure my laptop was fully charged and in a waterproof, fireproof and electricity resistant. Don't question me being prepared. Anything can happen, okay? And I for one wasn't going to be taking any chances. I had already filmed and edited the video I'm going to be releasing into the public. Pure evidence that leaves no room for doubt in anyone's eyes. I've even attached references from where I found this evidence. The public will be on the heroes and police's back for weeks if not months. This was going to be extremely fun to watch. I had also set a few leaks to go off a couple of hours after the sports festival ended. I walked into the school and headed over to talk to my new friends. Hey Todoroki. Hi Midoriya. Are you prepared for today? He was emotional as always. Why yeah. Hey Todoroki, if why you don't mind me asking. Why don't you use your F-fire side more? I knew the answer to this of course, but I wanted him to tell me. I had already started building a case against Endeavor with the help of Dabi. I can see how much he cares for his family and I can't wait till he reunites with them. I don't mind telling. Basically my SPRM donor is an abusive piece of SHT. So I don't want to use his part of my quirk. I will only use my mom's side. I'm sorry A about your father B but it isn't his Q quirk. It's yours. Ha. It's not his quirk. It's why yours. Why you are T the one using it. So it's yours. He looked like a light SWCH had been flicked on in his head. Did he really not realize that? It was honestly insulting to see one of my best friends refuse to use a quirk that several people would die for just to boycott his father. How absurd. Do why you know how many people W would die for that quirk? This was the most emotion I had seen him show. Guess that could be considered as progress. I am sorry, Midoriya. I guess I never really thought of it that way. I just smiled in response. You didn't question about my father being abusive. Right, I forgot about that part. I honestly expected it. F4 children, 1 deceased A and the wife in AA mental hospital. I owe out of everyone know WH when someone is not who they claim to be. It wasn't entirely false. I knew of all the abuse with details because of Tuya, but I had figured this as a possibility long before. Class 1A. Please line up and head to the locker rooms to get ready for the UA Sports Festival. Ida was a great choice as the class representative. We all followed him to where we were supposed to rest in between the festival. I couldn't wait for today. All for one's POV, the UA festival was just starting. Inko, Tenko, and I were all sitting together with snacks in front of us. Izuku had been working very hard on a special surprise to out All Might's hypocrisy to the entire world. He hadn't shown any of us what he had prepared. He kept telling us that we would see after the sports festival along with everyone else. He didn't even show his boyfriend or that Dobby that he has been hanging out with recently. To my knowledge he has barely gotten any sleep recently. Guess he got that from me. We all watched in anticipation as Class 1A was announced and Izu walked out surrounded by his classmates. He looked like he belonged, like he was not hiding himself and instead showing others who he truly was. I felt proud of who my son had become. He had told us about how he had told his classmates that he was quirkless, and for the first time, I could see how happy he was when they all stood by him, promising to always be there for him. This batch of heroes will make it big and I'm going to make sure of it. All of the classes were called one by one and then Izu took the stage to give a speech since he had come first in the entrance exams. Hello everyone. I just want to say. Good luck to everyone, and may we all do our best. I could see how embarrassed he was with his fake stutter. My usually confident kid, stuttering like that was honestly hilarious. I could hear Tenko hold in a laugh at seeing his little brother act like that. Everyone clapped politely and I could see the students looking in the crowds trying to spot their parents. I wish I could go watch my son in the sports festival, but sadly that wasn't possible. I tried to convince Inko to go, but she wanted to watch our son together. Izuku's POV, I felt embarrassed stuttering so much in front of thousands of people. I could clearly imagine Tenko laughing at me at home. I walked back towards my friends. Midnight was going to be our host for the game while Eraserhead and Present Mike commentated. The first round was going to be an obstacle course of sorts. We all lined up, ready to run. When Midnight cracked her WHP, everyone made a dash for the door. The first obstacle was the door itself. A sort of hidden obstacle. With all the students, it was going to cause trouble. I didn't have the lead but I was ahead of the majority of people. When I reached the door, I grabbed onto the person in front of me and climbed on top of them. I started running using random people's shoulders as foot placements to run ahead of the crowd. Just as I got through the door, Shoto froze most people in the doorway. I rushed towards the next obstacle were a couple of the 0-pointers from the entrance exam. Well, this was going to be easy. I pulled out my dagger and used it to scale the robot once again. It was easier this time since I had already done it once before. I pulled out a large metal chunk out of its arm. That might be useful later on. I also snagged a large piece of wire. On to the next obstacle. It was a large pit with small pieces of metal on top. I tied the metal onto my back and started running across the thin rods. I had a pretty good balance. I made it across pretty easily. I don't think the teachers expected anyone to be able to run across them. I had completely zoned out, only focusing on myself and the obstacles ahead to notice anyone else or mix commentating. I finally zoned back in as I reached the final obstacle. Bakugo and Todoroki are neck and neck for no one position. Midoriya approaches them not far behind. Will he take the lead? I looked ahead to find a minefield. What the F, Nizu? This can't be legal. How about, I go through the minefield and use the bombs to my advantage than try and avoid them, which was clearly slowing down the others. I removed the metal of my back and started scrapping bombs into a small pile. After I had enough, I throw down the metal onto the bombs and hold onto it for dear life. I flew through the air. This felt awesome. So this is how Jasmine and Aladdin felt on their first date. 10 out of 10 would recommend you know how to land safely. Which I did not. Oh well, I'll just go for it. I threw the metal piece down on another bomb and blasted ahead of Kat and Shoto. I was approaching the ground pretty quickly. I hit the ground in a roll and started running. And Midoriya is in the lead, leaving Bakugo and Todoroki stunned. I so wanted to look back and see the looks on their faces, but my current objective was doing my best in the first 2 parts of the festival. I ran into the large doors and looked around at the crowd that was clapping and cheering for me. Todoroki came in second and Kat came in third. I looked over at where the camera was and waved, not at the people watching, well kinda, but to my parents and Tenko and II. Inko's POV, I was there when Izu was diagnosed quirkless, I was there when he cried about not being able to be a hero. I was there when he decided to beat all odds and become the first quirkless. I watched as he became a villain so that people like him could have a chance. I watched as he was bullied, beaten and suicide baited, he never backed down. I watched as he got into his dream school. And now I was watching as my little baby, not so little anymore, ran in through those large gates and took first place. Tears rolled down my face as I saw my Izu's dream become a reality. He smiled and waved at the camera and I knew that it was for us.